everyone, it is no secret that Valkyrie has been crazy good since her inception back at the launch of Season 9, but today we have 7 really simple, but also incredibly important tips that will make a huge difference in your time with her. And starting us off are going to be a few things in regards to her passive jetpack, which is one of the best abilities in all of Apex Legends, if not just one of the best movement abilities in Apex Legends. This is one of the only abilities in the game that honestly will hurt you more than help if you are not using it appropriately or properly. And this seems simple, but at times her jetpack really can't be. The first thing you absolutely need to know is that the higher you fly, the more you are putting yourself out there, which means it's going to be easier for you to get beamed out of midair, and you really just don't want to do this. So you absolutely want to be staying lower to the ground or at least flying around cover so you're not getting beamed very simply out of the air. Any experienced player can easily track a Valkyrie flying, and more or less, you want to stay lower to the ground. What you can be using that jetpack for is rapidly taking off height and then also dropping from height. It's one of the most important techniques for Valkyrie, and honestly, a Valkyrie that can quickly swoop up, get a couple shots on an enemy, drop down, and keep repeating this action makes you very hard to hit, which does make her very elusive. And one additional tip for when you are taking height, you do want to try and do a mantle at the end of your fly to prevent any sort of hand animation. And by doing this, you can climb up rather than just leaving yourself really vulnerable to that hand animation, to that one brief second where you do need to wait for your gun to come up. And if you climb, you're kind of bypassing this, and at minimum, you're at least not going to be leaving your whole body out there to get shot at. So try mantling at the end of your flights. From this, though, we're going to move to some aggressive and evasive maneuvers with her passive. This doesn't really necessarily mean aggressively using it in a fight, but rather just aggressively using that passive to escape. Valkyrie's flying can be used for more than just getting from spot A to spot B, and rather, if you are using quick tap strafes with the jets, it's really great to make some very quick maneuvers. And while you don't want to fly in a straight line going straight up, if you do tap the jets a couple times, you can actually kind of do this type of tap strafing even if you are on controller, which is very difficult for enemies to hit. And honestly, it's some of the more satisfying movement tech out there for Valkyrie. One big warning though, if you are using the jets in this kind of rapid engagement to escape enemies, you are going to go through your fuel usage very quickly, so you do only want to do this when it counts. You don't want to just use it at like a whim when you're just rotating or just trying to get from point A to point B. You don't want to use it in this sense. You really only want to use it when you are trying to massively escape enemies and make huge plays to get out of trouble. The final tip for Valkyrie's passive is a super simple one, but it's very crucial when it does come to keeping yourself mobile. Other legends get fall fatigue. If you're not familiar with what this is, basically when you fall from height, you hit the ground, you're gonna have a brief second before you can start sprinting. Valkyrie can actually bypass this. If you are tapping the jets right before you get to the ground, you will have a soft landing, and this will stop you from getting that fall fatigue. And also, if you do hit the ground because maybe you forgot to hit the jets, you can't just simply double tap jump and start to jetpack away, and this will get your movement right up to speed quicker than just kind of waiting for you to be able to sprint. Don't let yourself ever become a target if you don't have to, and always try to have a soft landing on Valkyrie. You don't want to just slam into that ground and then leave yourself immobile. Next is going to be a few tips with Valkyrie's tactical. There's really not a ton to say with this ability other than you really need to be using it all the time. The tactical is so good, I cannot understate this. The fact that you basically get a free arc star every 30 seconds or so is wildly good, and this is even more important now that they did even nerf arc stars, which actually makes the tactical ability have a little bit higher stock in my eyes. But if you are unaware, using this tactical ability means you're getting a free 25 to 35 damage on enemies, plus you're also leveling your Evo shields, and if you are hitting 2 or 3 people, you could be dealing upwards of 100 damage with a single tactical usage, which is wild considering something like a crypto EMP is going to do 150 to 3 enemies. So if you're not using the tactical ability, you need to be using it as often as you get it. Why not send it out there? You get it every 30-35 seconds or so, and be really creative with the tactical ability. You can stop people that are in the open, you can force movement on enemies behind cover, and really just catch a lot of people off guard. Either they are forced to move out from that cover and you shoot them, or they just stay behind that cover and they tank that damage. Either way, it's going to be a win-win for you. And of course, open fights with that tactical ability, support your teammates, and of course support yourself by using a little bit of a stun, making people immobile. One enemy you should watch out for if you are using that tactical on is of course other Valkyries that can fly out of it, and Octanes can actually stim out of the stun if they are aware of this, although often I don't find players are doing this just because they either don't know or they just are kind of panicking. So absolutely use Valkyrie's tactical all the time. Honestly, if you're using it as often as you can in games, you're probably going to get like a free maybe 300, 500 damage in a game just from the tactical ability. Sounds kind of crazy to say, but you know, you need to be using it. Moving into her ultimate, there's a lot of great ways to use Valkyrie's ultimate ability. It's more than just going from point A to point B. While the passive is of course incredible and it's kind of what she is known for, I actually think Valkyrie's ultimate ability is probably just as important as her passive, if not more important, because you are supporting the entire squad with that ultimate ability. Just like the tactical ability, you need to be using Valkyrie's ultimate ability as often as you can. The timer for this type of ability is insanely fast. It is so good. The fact that you get it every 2.5 minutes or so is just wild. And because of this, you can just use her ultimate ability for recon only. You do not need to always transport yourself from point A to point B with the ultimate ability. You can just use it to fly up, and you don't even need your teammates attached. Just fly up, scan around, see where players are. Maybe your teammates are on the ground. You can scan for them, honestly, while you're flying in, and you can get an alternate angle on enemies that you might want to fight. One thing a lot of players don't even understand is that, you know, Valkyrie's passive of targeting enemies while you're in the fight, they don't even know that they're being tagged, which means you're kind of having the edge on them already. It's just really so good. Valkyrie's ultimate, I also can't sell this thing enough. You need to be using it as often as possible. After this, there's another very simple thing you should know with Valkyrie's ultimate ability, and this is the fact that players will have a CH or a KL next to their names while you are tagging them if they are the champion or the kill leader. Super simple, but it can be a pretty big deal, especially off the initial drop when you might want to know who the champion is. Say they're a very sweaty squad, because you can tell by their banners when you're loading in. Maybe you don't want to land right next to the champion. You want to land a little bit further away from them, or maybe you want to take them out of the game super early. It's something that you can use to your advantage. And honestly, also mid-game, if you can't tell who the kill leader is, you know, you might have a little bit more awareness going into a fight, maybe taking it a little bit more smarter of an approach. It's a very small piece of information that can help you plan your game accordingly, so definitely don't sleep on it. There's one final thing I do want to mention with Valkyrie's ultimate ability, and this is simply just spinning around in circles when you are launching that ultimate. Initially, when you are flying up in the air, if you are spinning around, you're making yourself a harder target, at least for your squad mates who are attached to the sides. The middle is a little bit more stationary. You might not be getting as much cover or as much relief as them. But if you are spinning around, you're making yourself harder to hit. And as soon as you do get to height and you are actually flying, not just going up into the air, you want to use Valkyrie's emotes if you do have it. This will send you all around the screen, making you, again, even harder to hit. And you can evade fire just by doing an emote, which sounds really simple, almost like pay to win, to be honest. But it is something that you should be aware of and you should be using, especially if you're in like a late ranked game, or if really there is just a lot of teams around. And if you are in the ring, you can drop a heat shield down so you're not taking damage while you are charging up. And additionally, if you are in a sweaty area, you can actually pair Valkyrie up with a Gibraltar's bubble so you can get some cover while you are launching out of that Valkyrie ultimate. If you guys ever want someone to play with, or if you just do not want to play with solos, hop into our Discord. You can also chat with me. I'm in there. I'm pretty active. I'd love to see you in there. Till next time, everyone. Happy gaming.